Hey, I'm Jen, host of the Open Bedroom podcast, where you'll find topics of sex, dating, relationships, non-monogamy, and more. I'm glad you're here. Let's dive in. Today, I want to talk to you guys about our wedding. So, Scott and I have been together now for just over 4 years, and we really, really wrestled with this question of, do we get married? And why do we get married? So for me, I was coming out of 2 marriages, each of them about a decade long, and I consider both of them to be successful. So I'm not saying they were failed marriages. Don't even think that. That's not what I'm saying. And I was like, I don't know that I ever want to be married again. Like, why do I need to be married again? Is that even a thing? Can't I just live with someone and love someone and let that be enough, you know? Scott had never been married, never had kids, and is very like anti-big government. So he's like, why would I need a piece of paper to tell me that I'm now like forever tied to another human and responsible for them and, um, you know, financially responsible for certain things. He just didn't like the idea of it. And so he was always like, I don't know that I'm opposed to marriage, but I'm opposed to the government's intervention in marriage. Like, I would have a ceremony, but I don't think I want to get legally married. So, this was our conversation for years and years. And it was fine for me for a while. Like, I was like, cool, all right, no problem. Like, we're together, who cares? And then something switched for me, like maybe 3 years in. And all of a sudden, I woke up and I was like, I feel like we're playing house. Like, this doesn't feel quite enough for me anymore. I feel like I feel like I want to be more than that with you. And so I started to kind of talk about that with him and go, well, what do you think? And like, do you feel like you're playing house? And he was like, not really. I mean, this is just how I live. And And so I started to talk to friends about it. And I started to, like, people would ask, do you think you guys will ever get married? And I'm like, I don't know, but I want to be married to Scott. So then we started financially talking about buying things together. And I think that's what really did it for us. I was like, um, look, I think we should buy a home, you know? So I had sold my home earlier this year and I was kind of set on the money because we talked about building a home and like buying land together. And I was like, I don't want to tie myself financially in such a big way when we're talking like $500,000 to $1 million. Like, I don't want to do that and not feel that I'm financially going to be secure, that someone could take this away from me, or someone could take this away from, you know, from you or whatever. Like, we need to protect each other and including ourselves. So I think that we should start thinking about like putting together an estate plan and putting together a will. And we need to think about, if we do get married, do we want to do a prenup, which we both agreed to pretty fiercely. And at this point in our lives, we're both in our 40s. We've accumulated some wealth. Like, we've worked hard. We've got, some retirement plan stuff. Like, I certainly don't want to jeopardize what I've built because I've already been divorced twice. Like, I've already been through this twice. And I was very lucky with both of my divorces to not completely have to financially rebuild. Like, it definitely hurts you every time you get divorced, but I was like, look, we need a prenup. And Scott agreed. So when we started talking about, buying and building a home, and then we started looking at buying a business together, I was like, okay, this is like, I'm not building this life with you without us being married. I'm just not doing it. And I'm fine having legal agreements, but what about like what is that even enough? Like, in the state of Arkansas, especially, is that even enough? So we agreed to do it. So we did our prenup together. We agreed on what a ceremony would look like and who we would want to be there and who we wouldn't want to be there. And a big thing for both of us was we're in our 40s and we want this to be about us. It's not about our parents. It's not about friends. It's not about anybody that has an idea of what they think our special moment in time needs to be. It's about you and me and us promising to each other, making these promises of how we're going to show up in each other's lives as we move forward through life. This is just about you and me. So we didn't tell our family. We we decided if we involved anyone, someone would have an opinion. So we're just going to decide together. We both feel very drawn to the woods and to trees and to nature. And so we we picked out a park and I went and visited it a couple days before our ceremony. And I found this sweet little spot within the park that you could just kind of walk into, and then there was a clearing, and it was super easy to get to. And I pin dropped it and sent the pin drop to Scott and Steph, who married us, and Ashton, our photographer. So let's talk about how that all unfolded. So Steph was in a throuple with Scott and I for over a year. And when that throuple kind of, fell apart, Steph and I have continued to see each other. So it's now, I think April will be 3 years together, her and I. And Scott and Steph and I, we still love each other, like Steph's a part of our life and will always be a part of my life. And Scott and I were like, oh my God, Steph needs to marry us. We didn't realize she was a minister until she told us several months before. And we were like, this is perfect. This is perfect to have someone that already loves us also marry us. This is phenomenal. So Steph was definitely a go. Then, you guys know Ashton, like all the pictures that you've seen of me and my family that we've had taken, my business pictures, all my headshots, my boudoir stuff, like that's all Ashton's work. And I sent a note to Ashton. I was like, "Hey, are you gonna be in Northwest Arkansas during the holidays? Because we want to get married. Like we're gonna elope and get married, and we're not gonna tell anybody." But it would be really cool to have some pictures of our little ceremony. Like, can you pop over for 20 minutes? And so she was like, I'm flying in from Florida. I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it happen. So she was there. It was just her and Steph and me and Scott. And yeah, I'll give you guys details too of like, what did we wear? What did it look like? I'll show you pictures as well. I'll put them on the real covers and on this podcast cover. But I found my dress on Amazon. So I started ordering dresses several months before we got married, and it was still warm outside. So the dress that I had picked out was pretty light. It was for like a day that was probably in the 60s or 70s. It had like a little bit of like lace. It's definitely got a bohemian vibe, which you guys will see in the pictures. That's the one I ended up, using. But I got probably three, four, five dresses off Amazon and just kind of was like, does it fit? Does it work? Does it not work? And then I just returned everything that didn't work. So that worked out great. As the day went closer, so we got married on November 2nd of this year, 2025, 11/2/2025, which surprisingly, two other people that I know got married that exact same day. I thought that was so crazy. It was on a Saturday morning at like 10 o'clock is when we got married. Anyway, it was surprisingly cold. And I was looking at the forecast and I'm like, it's going to be like 40 degrees at 10 in the morning. And so I was like, oh shit, what am I going to do? So I started kind of looking for a second dress and thinking about, do I wear tights underneath my dress because it's going to be so cold? And then I ended up buying a few things. None of them really worked well. And so I just stuck with the one that I had. And then I bought this fun faux fur jacket, like in a brown. And it was like, I don't know, like $40 or something on Amazon. And it was perfect. In fact, in the pictures of the wedding, you guys can scroll through my Instagram too to see more because I posted several a few weeks ago right after the ceremony of Steph marrying us, and Steph is wearing my jacket. I never ended up wearing it. She was freezing, and so she wore my jacket for the wedding, which was really fun. Our ceremonies, I don't know, you can call it a wedding. I mean, it was like us and the trees, right? So that's what I did. I ended up buying some pretty forest green flats. That's Scott's favorite color. So I used accents of forest green. I wore some forest green earrings and like a forest green bracelet. And that was it. Like my whole outfit was under $150. And let me tell you, I have been married twice. So I've had a $600 wedding dress, I don't know, $1,300 wedding dress. I was thinking about my first wedding. My first husband and I spent like 20 grand. And this was 20 something years ago. So this was like a fuck ton of money back then. We spent like $20,000 between our rings and all the dresses and all the people in our wedding and the place we got married in Hot Springs and the food and the like spa day for all the girls. Like it was a lot of money. And then I didn't even stay married for more than a decade. So like my second marriage to Derek, we got married on the beach. Actually, we eloped several weeks before and had like our own private ceremony with a justice of the peace because back then the kids were really little and their dad was not happy about my marriage. And so he was being a stickler for the kids can't spend the night with Derek. So we were just like, it's Christmas break. I had already mostly moved to the new house that Derek and I were going to live in. And I was like, look, I'm not living in Fayetteville by myself with these kids with beds on the floor. Like that's all that's left in this apartment or townhome that I had rented. I was like, can we just get married and just live in our Alma house over Christmas break? Like I'm exhausted and there's nothing here for us to do. And so we just went and snuck and got married. And then I sent it to my ex and I was like, okay, we can now live in the same house. These rules are so dumb, right? And I understand the reason they're to protect children. Anyway, so this time around, my third marriage, which is so weird to say, by the way, if you're listening to this and you've been married to the same person for 20 or 30 years, I'm sure my third marriage sounds fucking crazy. But y'all, we're gonna live to be 120. We're going to be married a lot of times. Our husbands are going to die. Our wives are going to die. Things are going to happen. You're going to go in a different path than your person, and you're going to realize, I don't want to do this anymore. And that's okay. You have permission. Okay, side rant over. So, this third marriage, I'm like, it doesn't have to be that expensive. Like, it can be cheap, it can be easy. Like, I didn't even pay anything for our ceremony or where we were at. We just freaking went to a park and did it at 10 in the morning. It was great. My ring, I want to show you guys my ring. This is the same. Can you see it? Let's see how close I can get. This is the same exact diamond that I handpicked out when I was like 20 years old with my first husband. I lived in Arkadelphia, Arkansas, which is definitely as podunk as it sounds. And my first husband was very much into like, I don't know, exotic roses and like exotic cuts of diamond. And so he was like, you need a pear-shaped diamond. It's exotic. And so I was like, cool. So this is like, I don't know, like a carat and a half. And it was so cool. This was a cool experience. I'm gonna tell you guys about this. So I'm like 19 or 20. I don't remember how old I was. 20 maybe when I got engaged to Cortez. Maybe I was younger than that. Um, and we developed this friendship with this like neighborhood jeweler guy downtown. And I remember he takes this black cloth. You know how they put the diamonds on the black cloth? If you've ever done this before, he had like brought in some hand selected, pear shaped. We told him about the size we were looking for and the clarity. And there were like 10 diamonds in front of me. And I like reached for this one. This was the one. It was like calling to me. I reached for it and I like looked at and I was like, this is it. This is the one. So I have had each of my wedding rings like handcrafted, and I've gotten to design each of my three wedding and engagement rings with this diamond, which has been cool. So I've just kept it and reused it each time and done a totally different setting and totally different vibe. This is the first time I've ever had yellow gold. So I'll put it up one more time to the camera. If you're not watching me, you can watch me on Spotify or for free on YouTube. All of these podcast episodes are me with video recording. And usually I'm show and telling you something cool. So anyway, here's the ring again. So this was really fun. I don't think you can see. There's teensy tiny little diamonds that surround my solitaire. There you go. You can kind of see them. They're little bitty. And then there's some like really pretty little diamonds on this antique looking engagement ring. So I Pinterested the fuck out of this little wedding, this little ceremony that we did. Because I'm like, oh, I feel so called to like the boho vibe and like weddings in the forest. And like, it'd be so cool if you had a big wedding and you like had huge tables brought in and like twinkly lights. And that would be like super cool if I was 20 and did that all over again. But anyway, it was just four of us in the forest. So I found something very similar to the ring that I'm wearing and Pinterested it. And when I brought my diamond to the jeweler, I was like, this is from my last marriage. I want to redo this. And like, here's the inspiration. Here's what I love. And they were awesome. Again, hometown jeweler. I've used them twice now. I use them for my last wedding ring and this one. And they did such a good job. And he was like, I got you. Don't worry. And a couple days in, I get a phone call from the jeweler and he's like, hey, do you mind if I do the diamonds like this or do? Here's what I think it will be best. Tell me if you have a problem with that. And I was like, oh God, no, that sounds amazing. And then he surprised me with the little bitty diamonds that are like haloed around the big one. Anyway, it was just precious and fun. Here's another cool thing. I want to show you my wedding band. This is actually flat. It's a flat wedding band, even though it's circular, like it's all flat. And he handcrafted this one for me too. And I love it. And it looks really pretty next to, okay, that's probably enough conversation around my ring, but it's so pretty. I really love it. Okay, so I talked to you about why we got married, who was there, where we went. We went to a park near where I live. I'm not going to tell you where because I don't want any park rangers calling me telling me I illegally got married in their park. We didn't ask permission. We just went and did it. Minister, Steph. So Steph had been certified, is that what they call it, as a minister a few years before she married another couple or two. And she's like, Jen, do you need anything like special or particular in your vows and like what do you want? I was like, I don't know. I don't know, but I want it to be, oh, this was really important. I want to tell you guys about this. Okay. Vows and promises made to each other. So my first wedding was very traditional vows, like I will submit to you and blah, 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 kind of vows. And we said them in front of like 100 people. So it felt really heavy, right? Because you're like making this promise to your spouse in front of all these people. The second one was a little bit more liberal, and we actually got married by a woman minister, and we did write our vows to each other. And so that was my first experience with vow writing and how it felt so much more natural than using something in a book somewhere that someone just says, like, repeat after me. So this time I talked to Scott and I was like, I want to write vows that are very unique to us in our own open relationship. Because this is important because of this podcast. This podcast is for people in open relationships and in all different sorts of more open ways of living. And so it's like, how do you do your vows? So we wrote ours and I was like, oh my gosh, what if I write like a whole bunch and you write like one line? Like, should we shore them up together? And he was like, no, I trust that whatever you write and whatever I write is going to be perfect for each other. And so, and it was, they were about the same in length. They were about the same in, I'm not going to read you my vows, but I do have both of our vows here. Um, they were the same in like heartfelt. I'm going to just quickly show you how I wrote mine. I'm not going to let you read them, but, I wrote mine in this sweet little journal and and that's all I have in here right now. I'm probably going to end up using this for work, but I wrote my vows in here and I did get some pictures of like our rings and oh, y'all, I got to tell you about my bouquet in a minute because I made it by hand. And then Scott did his on this little piece of paper and Scott is so good with words, like everything that he wrote, and I'm not sharing them with y'all because you don't get to hear them. They're mine. But everything that he wrote to me was from his heart totally applicable. Like ChatGPT didn't help him write this. They were completely applicable to how he views me and our relationship and our open relationship and the way that we've crafted our open relationship to bring us closer as people. And I really struggled with, do we invite the kids to this ceremony? So I want to talk about that for a minute. Do we invite the kids? And I kept coming back to no. Like, as much as I wanted my kids to see Scott and I make our vows together, I realized this is not about them. This is nothing about them. Like, they've already had Scott living in their life for 4 years, and they are like, this is my stepdad. They didn't need to see us make these private vows to each other. What was more important was that Scott and I felt free to say exactly what we wanted to say with the privacy of just Steph and Ashton there. And we did. Y'all, I started crying. I went first and I said the first line or two, and all of a sudden I got this like wave of emotion of like, I am making vows to this person. Like, I am pouring my heart out to him and what I promised to do in terms of being his wife and showing up for him and loving him. And I'm being honest, there's a part in there where I said, you know, I promise to come to you if our dynamic ever needs to change. And we've talked about this a lot. Like, we have a very particular dynamic where we only date women and we only date women together. And I don't sleep with other men. And if I ever get to this point or a point in my own life with him where I'm like, I really feel like I'm missing out. I really feel like I need to go do this other thing, or I need to bring this piece in. I promise I'll tell him, you know, and we'll have conversations around it and we'll work through it and we'll figure it out. But those are the kind of things you can't say in front of your kids. You know what I mean? So I was able to be completely honest in my promises to him in front of Steph and Ashton and the trees and the birds and like our hearts. And it was incredibly beautiful. Okay. One thing I missed to tell you, and I got inspiration from Ian's girlfriend. This is going to sound really weird. But when Ian went to prom this last time with his girlfriend, her mom and her hand made his boutonniere. And I was like, if this 17-year-old and her mom can hand make a boutonniere, I can make one and I can also make my own bouquet. And I was like, I'm not spending $200 or 400. I don't even know how much bouquet is, but I would assume it's a lot of money. I'm not spending, like, it's not about that. Like, one thing Ashton, my photographer, has taught me is accoutrements are needed in photography. Like, she's always like, bring the hat, bring the extra earrings, bring the extra bracelets, bring the extra shoes, bring a belt, bring the jean jacket, bring extra things, and we can take your one outfit and make you look like you've had 7 outfit changes. And then you can really get a lot of use out of these pictures that I take for you. So you guys, I brought the accoutrement. I brought the $40 faux fur jacket, which looked great in pictures. I brought a hat that the weekend before I had hand burned the hat and put some feathers in it, and it was super cool hat. I brought that, and I didn't wear it during the ceremony, but there are some pictures of me in it. I brought my journal and I brought the flowers. So I handmade. So what I did, in case anyone's listening and they want to replicate this, I went online and I found real flowers through Amazon because this was like 4 or 5 days before the wedding. And I was like, I need to figure out the flower thing. I went online to Amazon and I started kind of just looking at bouquets that I knew would arrive a day or two early because I wanted the flowers to be open enough. And you know how they come like all tight in a little bud whenever you get flowers. And I was like, okay, what kind of, what's the flower type that I want? And anyway, I found a bouquet that I really loved. And so I was like, cool, I'm going to send myself flowers. And then I'm going to use these flowers and make a bouquet. So at the same time, I also put in my cart bouquet and boutonniere kit. So it comes with like the little pretty pins that have like little pearls on the edges of it that you use to hold the bouquet. I wish I could have kept it, but I didn't, you know, because it's like real flowers. It comes with ribbon. It came with that like florist tape where you wrap up the flower, wire. So you can also do wire around if you need, have like, I had a whole bunch of flowers. Like I had this, and it was pretty big, full of flowers. Anyway, it comes with everything that you need. And then I was like, like instead of black, I really want forest green so that everything kind of matches with my white dress, or off-white or whatever color my dress was. And so I ended up going to Hobby Lobby and buying some additional like dark mossy green satin ribbon, which I ended up using. And y'all, it was so freaking easy to make my own bouquet. I sat in the kitchen while Ian cooked for his girlfriend. And I was like, okay, she's here if I need help. I didn't end up needing help, but I just figured it out. It was really, really easy. So I let the flowers sit for a couple days and like get nice and big. And then just the night before we got married, that's when I made the boutonniere, and then I just put it in the fridge so it stayed cold. And then I did the same thing for the flowers. Like I wrapped them all up and I made my bouquet. And then I put it in like a big pitcher with no water, just in the fridge. And then the coldness like perked them up even more and they looked amazing. And then the next morning I got changed. I did my hair and my makeup all by myself. I did everything like I just didn't normally like I would normally do. I did go to Sephora and I don't ever wear eyeshadow. I am actually wearing a little now, which I don't think you can even really see. I like put on a little bit of eyeshadow, a little bit of liner, mascara, and some like fun lipstick. I bought some lipstick that was like kind of fall red. And that was it. And that was what I did. And they look great in the pictures. So I guess I'm also trying to empower anyone listening that if you want to do your own wedding and you want to do something really small, it's actually really cheap. I mean, even with like the new ring configuration and buying Scott, I mean, for less than $1,000, we pulled this whole thing off. And the most expensive thing was my wedding rings. And then after that was probably clothes. Oh, Scott. Let's talk about Scott's outfit because guys listening might care. We didn't want anything traditional because Scott is not a fancy guy. Like he's never gonna wear a tuxedo or a suit. Like we don't go to church. Like I guess a funeral. I'm like, what do you wear a suit to? I don't know. So we went shopping. He was like, do you want to come shopping with me? Because I don't know what to wear. And I was like, of course. So we went to Dillard's and he like immediately gravitates to this plaid top and these like nice brown corduroy pants. And I was like, okay, we're going with plaid for the wedding. And it worked. It looked so good together. Like all his colors melded with my colors and the stuff that he got, like he's worn it like every date night or every new date that we've been on. He's worn this outfit and he looks freaking hot in it. So same thing for him. He just got up and got ready and did his normal thing and put his new outfit on and I mean, for a couple $100, he had his wedding outfit and he's gotten to rewear it a whole bunch. So again, just want to encourage you guys, your ceremony doesn't have to be expensive. You can do all of this yourself. And in fact, it was so low stress because I didn't even have one appointment I had to make. I just did it all on my own. Okay, let's see. I think the last thing I just want to talk about is like, what does creating a life together feel like? So you see my background. This is my new office. Scott and I bought a house together a few months ago, and we've been having a little remodel done on it. So the remodel got finished. We moved in right before Christmas, which was freaking crazy. The kids were in Puerto Rico with their dads. It was perfect timing. We moved everything in. Then Scott got food poisoning after a date that we had. That was fun. And so we've been settling it, but I feel great about my office. I don't know if you can see my huge Monstera plant back there. I've got all kinds of plants. I have my treadmill next to me and my weights. So this room is so much bigger than the last townhome that we were renting, and we're out of renting. And so we're building our home and our future and our finances. It's important as we get older to look at the marriages and the life partners that we choose and realize that it's also a business arrangement. It's not very romantic, is it? But it does protect your ass. Let me tell you, like, I should have had to pay alimony twice, and I didn't because my ex-husbands are freaking amazing. So protect yourself is something I definitely would tell. As I'm telling you about getting married, protect yourself. And I think Scott would say the same thing to you. So, Yeah, we're creating a life together. We've bought our house together. Hopefully, in the next year or so, we'll build a business together. And then in the next few years, we'll actually physically build a house together. Right now, we're just being happy in the house that we just moved into, that will one day be our rental. But this just feels really good. And you guys can see like all my woo-woo stuff is on the wall, and there's such good energy in this house. Scott is calling it the cottage because it's so cozy. You guys, when you walk in on the right-hand side is like a huge library area. So there's all these built-in wooden bookshelf things. Oh, it's so pretty. And then we redid the fireplace with the same tile that we did our huge bathroom, shower. Okay. So the shower, I want to tell you guys about the shower. I don't think I've told you yet. Okay, our builder, the person we want to have build us a house, he did our remodel. And I was like, Matt, we're in an open relationship. So I need a shower built for three, if you know what I mean. And he was like, oh, okay. I understand the assignment. So there was this just like prefab shower in there that was maybe enough for one adult human. So I had them pull all of that out and then we expanded the shower a bit. We have two shower heads. Everything is tile. We have three different kinds of tile. One is like marble look and it's on either side where the shower heads are. And then the main wall is like all these different tiles with blue, different shades of blue. It's really pretty. And then we have these little built-ins for all of our hair stuff. It's Scott and I have a lot of stuff for the shower. And so we have this huge built-in that has, you know, those little like honeycomb shaped tiles that are like, an inch. It's all white. And so that's the back splash of the built-in. And then the floor is the same white honeycomb. Oh, and it's all glass. It's just absolutely beautiful. So I feel like, in honoring our open relationship, in honoring the vows and the promises that we've made to each other in our marriage, in our open marriage, right? We've also like taken this thread into this home that we've built together and we've made it conducive for our lifestyle. So we can have a third person in our shower, which is pretty awesome. Hasn't happened yet, but I'm pretty excited about it. So, this is the end of 2025. This is the last episode that you will hear of 2025. If you're listening to this in 2026 or 2029, I don't know how long I'll do this podcast, but it has been a wild year. I'm just going to recap with that. It has been a wild year. We spent almost the entire year in a throuple. This throuple went from being sort of open to being closed to open and then closed and then broke up after an amazing vacation on a cruise ship. About a month later, that was it. It wasn't the cruise ship that broke us up. It was the change in dynamic. So what's interesting, I think, about open relationships is like not only do you have one person to be in relationship with, but you have two others. There's three of you, right? And every person's constantly changing. They're changing and they're growing and their desires are shifting. And man, it's a wild ride. So, unless all three of you are completely aligned in what you're looking for, change is inevitable. So, this has been at least a Q4 of so much change. And we are no longer in our throuple. We are moved. We are dating again. We're seeing a few women. Um, and I was telling Scott the other day, it feels totally different this time. Like instead of dating to find one person to stay with us for years and years and years and years and be a throuple, or instead of being a throuple and looking for even a fourth person, or being a throuple and being completely closed, or like all these different dynamics that we've had and we've shifted into. What currently feels aligned is just being a married couple that's open to seeing several other people and just letting it be that easy. Like, come on over for hot tub night. Come on over and we'll cook for you. Let's have a slumber party. Like it doesn't feel like it has to be anything. It doesn't feel like it has to be an end goal, I think is what I mean to say. And like I said on the previous podcast that talks about our breakup with our throuple, I think Steph gets a lot of credit for this. She's the one that's teaching me just be present now. Like just allow it to be what it is now. And I'm allowing it to be what it is. And so is Scott. And so it's almost more like focused on him and I. Like we are looking at each other and we are building this life and we are moving forward and we have our kids and family and work and things that fill us up. It's like, and we're allowing ourselves to be open to the possibilities that additional people might want to join, might want to have fun, might want to flow in, might want to flow out. And it doesn't have to look a certain way. And that's where we're at, the end of 2025. Who freaking knows what 2026 is going to bring in? But I hope that it's a lot of love and light and fun. So I try to like choose a word of the year every year. And some years I just don't. I didn't. That's 2025. What energy I feel is coming in for me for next year is, okay, let me see if I can channel it. I feel peaceful, grounded, like grounded in my new cozy home. I feel excitement, travel, like new friends, calling in new people into my life, or nurturing those relationships that I already have, but to a deeper level. I have plans to go to Paris with my mom in April, and we're going to go for like 2 weeks. We're going to do Paris and then do Italy and train around. And so I'm just like, I'm open to what are these possibilities? What are these trips? What's available to me? What is this business that Scott and I might buy? I don't even know what it is yet. It's not in my radar, but it's something that him and I are interested in doing. Scott graduates finally. Y'all, I have for 4 years that we've been together, he's been in school and he will finally be graduated and have some sort of job, have some sort of passion for work. So, like, what does that look like? I feel like that's a big question mark. And then I'll have a senior, my oldest, it'll be his last year starting next August. So, like, lots of change, it feels like, but also lots of space for me to think about what do I want and what do I want to create or what do I just want to be really comfortable with and just be okay with that, which I'm sitting with. So, blessings to all of you guys for a prosperous and happy and fruitful 2026. Thank you for listening in 2025. Thank you for being part of our ride and our journey and being curious enough to tune in. Thank you for the grace of the last few weeks of not having a consistent podcast come out. I mean, today it took me 30 minutes to find my camera because everything has been in disarray as we've been moving. And then I spent almost 2 weeks in New Zealand as well in December, right before we moved for work. So it has been a wild month, but thank you. Thank you for sticking around, sticking with me, sticking with this podcast. And I'm excited to share with you in 2026 whatever new comes up.
Thank you for listening to the Open Bedroom Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, go ahead and give us a like and click subscribe below and stay up to date on all the new episodes that we release. If you have a topic that you'd really like more information on, leave us a comment below and we'll see what we can do. Feel free to share this podcast with all of your friends and especially your partners. This is a great way to open up some amazing conversations. We'll see you next week.